Thank you so much for accepting to be with us tonight. It's very much appreciated. We know it's a very busy day today for many persons like you in the United States today, and we appreciate very much that you have 7 or 10 minutes to be with us. Let me ask you a very straightforward question. If Romney would win the elections, why would he win the elections? And if Barack Obama would win the elections, why? What is the reason he would actually win? I mean, what would make the difference in both cases? I mean, what could be really the key points?
Well, the main issue in our election, and it's the case in many elections around the world, is the economy and what's going on in our economy in America. So I've always thought that President Obama would have trouble getting reelected with 8 or 9 or 10% unemployment, which is what we've had in the United States over the last 3 or 4 years. So the biggest argument for Governor Romney is that he will assert that he can make the economy better for people and get unemployment down, get more people into jobs, and have a better economic set of ideas. Barack Obama is going to argue that even though he hasn't achieved everything he wanted to achieve with the economy, that he has made it better than it was when he came in the office. He has gotten a health care plan through that should help everybody have health care insurance in America, and that he needs 4 more years to complete his economic work and to get unemployment down and to get more people to be employed. So those are the 2 major arguments that that have been advocated over the last year, and we'll see in a few hours who won the argument.
Well, yes. As you probably know, this evening and night we are having here in Florence was actually preceded by another element of this meeting, which was a seminar for students, for Italian students and US students in Florence, exactly on the issue of the US elections and human rights. So we had very interesting perspectives on the various aspects of the US politics, and we were always trying to relate it to the issue of human rights. But one issue that came up very, very clearly is the increasing polarization of politics in the United States. By the way, not only in the United States, but certainly in the United States, which increasingly makes it difficult to cross the aisle. So could one say that whoever wins these elections as a president would nevertheless probably have at least part of the Congress not on its favor, and that being in the end a major obstacle to make, to formulate any or almost any significant policies. So what can you say is about the polarization and about actually the governability, if that's the correct word, of the US political system?
Well, the thing that you've got to remember always is that democracy or politics is a substitute for violence. It is here in the United States, and it is in many countries around the world. Although there are countries in the world where they don't have politics, they don't have democracy, and they have violence. So that's the first thing to always remember. So if it is a substitute for violence...
We lost the audio.
You're not hearing me now?
Yes, we're hearing you again, yes.
Okay. So what I was saying was politics is a substitute for violence. Democracy is a substitute for violence in all countries where it's practiced. So it's very easy, if you believe that, to see that you can have polarization, because that's the nature of what you're doing. I mean, when you have a democracy, you want 200 people or 300 people, or as in our case in America, 535 people serve in the Congress representing all the American people, and they are trying to make very controversial decisions on a whole range of subjects. and people feel very strongly about it, and they're emotional about it. So it's very easy to see how there would be polarization, bitterness, difficulty, arguments, and even hatred. I mean, people get very exercised when they are debating issues, and it's very easy to say, I disagree with you, and in fact, I hate you because I disagree with you. So this is the nature of politics. It's the nature of democracy. But when you actually have to make tough decisions, it's very important to be able to get what we call bipartisan votes, to reach across the aisle, to get people from the other side to work with you and vote with you on doing very tough things. And that means you have to compromise.
Mr. Gephardt?
That means you...
Mr.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we can't really see your face. I think you moved from the camera.
Yes,
okay,
you're
now it's
back
better.
again. Okay, I didn't see that.
Thank
Okay.
you. We did hear you, but we couldn't see you anymore.
Okay, okay, good. So that's compromise, and that's giving up everything that you, a lot of things that you want. I have a saying, I've never seen a good compromise where anybody at the end of it was happy. Everybody's unhappy because they didn't get everything they want.
We're talking about compromise. Maybe Barack Obama was a good precedent. I mean, he's a lawyer, so he should be acquainted with compromises, or no?
Well, he is, and I think he really tried to get a compromise, and he would argue that the Republicans were unwilling to compromise, that they wanted, everything and would give up nothing, would agree to no revenue increases, for instance, in the budget. So that would be his position. The Republicans would say he wouldn't compromise enough. And that's often what you get when compromise fails, is both sides blame the other.
That's polarization.
The compromise. That's the way it works.
Yes. I have another question, since we haven't here, we have spoken about it a little bit. I'm not sure how much it came up in the debates, but what about the votes of the Hispanics? The Hispanic vote is changing, has changed with Obama, and other minorities' votes have changed, of course, in the previous elections. How does the minority, which of course are large parts of the population eventually, of course, how do they influence eventually the balance of who will win the elections? I mean, who is voting for whom more, let's say, significantly than for others?
Right. Well, I think you'll see in this election probably maybe 70% of the Hispanic population, which is growing in number rapidly in the United States, will vote for Barack Obama. Probably 95% of the African American population will vote for Barack Obama. And probably only 38% of the white population will vote for Barack Obama. But if he gets those numbers out of the African American population and the Hispanic population, he should win the election. He should get to 50 or 51% of the total vote. And all of that is to say that the demography of the United States is changing rapidly. So to give you some numbers, in the 2008 election, about 74% of the electorate was white, and the rest were African American, Hispanic, other ethnic groups that make up the population. In this election, the white content in the electorate will be down to 72%. And if you look at demography in the United States, that number of whites in the electorate will continue to diminish in the years ahead, to the point that in some years ahead, the non-white part of the electorate will be a majority in the United States. So that's had a big role in Barack Obama's election in 2008, and I think will have a big role in his re-election, which I suspect will happen tonight in 2012.
Can we say, you started your interview with us talking about the importance, of course, of the economy as an issue in this election. Can we say there is also, since what you just said, a race issue? I mean, you said that white, probably a lot of them will not vote for Obama, and do you think this the color of the skin of Mr. President Barack Obama affects the vote today, these hours?
It has an impact, but the thing to remember is that he is the first African American president in history in the United States. So I guess I'd put it in a positive tone by saying that 30, 50 years ago, I don't think an African American could have gotten elected because of race in the United States. But in 2008, he did get elected, and I suspect tonight he will be reelected, and he will get 37, 38% of the white vote. So yes, racism is still an issue in the United States. It's still a problem. It hasn't gone away completely. We're not all colorblind, even though we would hope people would be. But we've made a lot of progress. And I think this, and if he gets reelected tonight, it truly is, it has almost as historic as him getting elected in the first place in 2008.
Can I ask you, where are you right now? In what part of the United States you are?
I'm actually in California.
Okay.
I'm in California.
I just wanted to know how are things going as far as votes are. I mean, do you see a lot of people go vote? Do you see queues? Do you see chaos, or and is everything going all right?
No, I think it's largely going fine. There will undoubtedly be places where there will be controversy and people will feel they're not being allowed to vote, and the polls in some places will close too early. And there's always problems when you have human beings involved in an election. But I'd say that, largely this will be an uneventful election. The votes will be counted, and whoever wins will win, and people won't feel that there was anybody stealing votes or fixing the election. It will be seen as a valid election across the country.
I think there are some students that maybe
there are students from California here even, but that doesn't mean that they are.
For sure, there's a girl from Los Angeles, I think, Taylor, I think.
But Taylor,
I remember her.
Anyway, is there anyone who wants to ask a question?
Or make a comment?
Or make a comment? Please go ahead. Oh, it has grown silent. They have made a lot of questions before, asked a lot of questions. This may be a lower point tonight, but the issue of race has come up in our course. A number of other issues have come up. But at this moment, a few students have gone up and, oh yes, I see a question. I see a person who raises his hand. So can you please introduce yourself and get a microphone?
Hi, my name is Charles Pulliamore. I'm a student from the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. And I wanted to ask what you thought about the ways in which the Conservative Party has had concerted efforts towards voter suppression in certain swing states, particularly against minority groups like Latinos and African Americans, if we're going to talk about the role that race plays in this election. I'm thinking in particular about mailers that had gone out to tell Latino voters in particular not to vote until November the 8th, which is obviously 2 days after the election. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I think, unfortunately, we've seen a number of efforts around the country to suppress the voting of people, mostly on the Democratic side, I'm afraid. I haven't seen any efforts that I've heard of about Democrats trying to suppress the Republican vote or the conservative vote. And as you know, it's sometimes easier to frighten new voters, maybe immigrants who just became citizens, into not voting. I frankly, don't think those efforts largely succeed. I think they fail, but that doesn't mean people won't try to do that. As I said a moment ago, politics is a substitute for violence. So, voter suppression is not violence, but it's getting toward it. And when people's emotions run very high and they do things they shouldn't do, and that's where voter suppression comes in. So I'm worried about it. I think we have to guard against it. We have to make sure that we stop any efforts in this regard that we can, but that doesn't mean people won't stop trying. And unfortunately, I think we're going to have this in the future, and we're going to have to guard against it all we can.
Thank you. Any other question?
Taylor.
Yes, we have a question. 1 second, because the microphone is moved around.
Hi, my name is Taylor Hooks, and I'm the Californian, so I'm saying hello to my home state. I miss it a lot. My question is about economics and how it ties to race. Mitt Romney has run on a platform largely to improve the economy, but those who have been hurt most by the economy largely have been minorities, Latinos, African Americans. So how do you think Mitt Romney has done in terms of reaching those voters and speaking to them about improving their economic situation, or how has he missed an opportunity here?
Well, I think he's probably been fairly effective with a lot of people who are unemployed or have economic problems. Their house is underwater or they lost their job, just because he's the alternative product, if you will. I think a lot of voters look at politicians the way they do plumbers. If I hire a plumber to fix a leaky pipe. If they fix the pipe, I'll rehire them. If they don't fix the pipe, they don't get rehired. And to me, it's with a lot of people, it's no more complicated than that. And so I think Mitt Romney probably is getting some votes from some people that he ordinarily wouldn't, just because they want change. They want the alternative plumber, if you will, to fix the leaky pipe. But if you look at his track record, his programs, what he's done in the private sector, I mean, the conservative Republican Party, to me, is not the party of working people. It's not the party of people that are poor and trying to get on the ladder of opportunity. Barack Obama has done a lot for education. He's done a lot for training. He got a stimulus bill through when we were in the depths of the recession that hired a lot of people around the country. If you look at the internal arguments between the candidates, I would think people who are struggling would vote for Barack Obama and the programs that he's espoused and that he will try to put in place over the next 4 years. But again, a lot of voters don't get into all that. They don't get into all those specifics and all that detail. They want results. And if they don't get the results, they vote for the alternative. So that's kind of what Obama is facing tonight, and why I've always thought that with high unemployment, he would have a rough time getting reelected. But hopefully, from my viewpoint, he will.
Dick Gephardt, thank you so much for being with us.
Great.
Very much
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. Good luck.
Thank you. You too.